Late concession.
Well, here's the thing. Lee hasn't lost since. So he's doing just fine. He's playing for top 8 against Big Joe Bernal. Esper Deathblade Mirror, a place that Joe has proven he is very, very comfortable. It looks like he's going to be playing first, playing an Underground Sea, and leading off with a Ponder. Winner of this match into the elimination rounds.
And Lee sort of taking a more classic control approach to his deck here, playing both Snapcaster Mage and Jace the Mind Sculptor. Both of these cards absent from Joe's build. Joe playing a much more proactive build of the deck.
So Joe deciding what he wants to do with that Ponder, going to consult his normal hand. Take a look at those 3 cards. This is going to sculpt the way this game's going to go. And wants to make sure he actually puts the Ponder cards on top of his real hand. Don't want to make that mistake.
And possibly just debating an outright shuffle here.
Yeah. And, boy, he is very unsure of himself. Okay, so he's going to keep. He's going to pass the turn back. Lee will take a draw. Play a Marsh Flats, pass the turn back. Stoneforge Mystic showing up to the party.
And this is another pretty attrition-oriented matchup.
Absolutely.
But the dynamic has changed a little bit with the introduction of True Name Nemesis, as now someone can just die to a threat that's very hard to answer.
And here's Stoneforge Mystic. We'll see if this does resolve. Looks like it's good to go. And Lee rubbing his hand together, digging in. His batter skull is going to go to Bernal's grip. See Lee's hand right now. He's got a couple copies of Swords of Plowshares, a Caracas, True Name Nemesis of his own. Looks like a Liliana the Veil as well.
A lot of good action.
Yep. All good cards. All good cards. Got that Marsh Flats as his first land. He's going to sacrifice that, go down to 19. Probably see a Swords of Plowshares in the end step here from Prost, in case he does draw something to do on his turn too.
And it is the nature of True Name Nemesis that neither one of these decks is chock full of answers to each other's.
Yeah.
Looking at a couple copies of Liliana the Veil in both decks, and we are looking at Force of Will in some number in both decks, and that's about it.
So there's your swords. Take care of that there Stoneforge Mystic. And Prost is going to untap. He's going to take a draw. Finds another copy of Marsh Flats, 2 of them in his hand right now. So he's going to play 1 and just pass the turn back. So nothing doing on turn number 2. For Lee, for Joe, he draws a Deathrite Shaman. He's got GT in his hand along with the Batter Skull. He's going to play an Underground Sea.
And I'm interested to see next turn if Lee's going to try to just put Joe to the test.
Yeah. Deathrite GT, pass it back. Here's a Swords. Get that thing out of here. So Lee doing a nice job of controlling the creatures. Important for a couple reasons. I think most important, of course, is to make it so that Liliana doesn't just become a removal spell.
Yeah.
There's a Scrubland. Sacrifice the Marsh Flats. Prost is going to go down to 18. Here's an Underground Sea, so colors are online.
And let's see if Lee tries to play Liliana and start to grind Joe down that way, or just put him to the test here with a True Name Nemesis.
I just kind of want to drop True Name, but that's just how I roll. I like it. I like it. Let's get aggressive.
And Joe says sure.
Joe draws another copy of Stoneforge Mystic. Here's a Flooded Strand. This is a Liliana the Veil. Thumbs up, thumbs down, Batista Bomb. Get that True Name Nemesis out of here.
So now Joe firmly in the front foot right now.
Yeah, he's got to be happy with his position.
An equipment that makes any piece of any creature really threatening.
Looks like we're going to see dueling Lilianas now. I don't get to see this often, but this is a new legendary role, which I actually like a lot.
I do too. I would rather both players control a card than neither player.
Yeah.
As a rule.
Forcible discard here from Bernal. Caracas discarded by Lee. So it's going to be a bit of a top deck war here, it looks like. As Lily's going to tick up. The hands are just going to be going very, very quickly. Here's Stoneforge. It looks like. By playing Stoneforge here, it allows Joe Liliana to catch up with Lee's, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I guess. The problem here for Joe is that if he plays Stoneforge Mystic, he's a little scared to do so, because then Lee can tick up his Liliana and take care of the Batter Skull in Joe's hand, because I don't think that Joe has another equipment to search for.
No, he does not.
Yeah. That's the big issue here.
If the Batter Skull in Joe's hand was any other card in his deck, those would be a lot easier. Instead, it is something of a headache.
You see Joe really just trying to figure out what to do, and he's just going to hold. Brainstorm the draw here for Lee. Really nice draw. Get some info. Set some things up. Figure out what to discard here to Liliana. Brainstorm's going to resolve. So there's a Jace,
oh boy,
a Jite, and a Vindicate. That's 3 really good Magic cards. Wow.
That's some juice.
Yeah, and we haven't seen Jace for a little while.
Yeah.
Because of these Trinity Nemesis Wars, but obviously it's an option that Lee has available to him. And it's going to be a good one here. Yeah.
And that one, that...
It's a nice turn.
Yeah. That Brainstorm was so good for Lee that he doesn't even want to jam Jace this turn because it would require him to shuffle with the Marsh Flats.
Yeah, this is such a good turn. Now he's going to tick up Liliana 5 pass. Trinity Nemesis is probably going to have to get cast this turn, I would imagine. Yeah. That's going to bite the dust on Liliana. You see Lee says, thumbs up. That's good. I have a Jace the Mind Sculptor. Joe gives that the thumbs up, saying that's good. I think it might be time to brainstorm. We'll see. That's bye-bye True Name. Are we going to go Fate Sealing maybe? And Lee's a little unsure of himself, but he'll figure it out. And he is going to go brainstorm. He's going to look at Jite Batterskull and Stoneforge Mystic. He's going to pass the turn back. Going to keep Jite right now. Bernal going to sacrifice the Ledge Shrine after top decking a land. So this is going to be the 5th mana for Batterskull. Problem is, Lee's got this covered in 2 ways.
Yeah, this was the thing about this Batterskull is if he, if we were only dealing with one Planeswalker from Joe's side of the table, he could try to do the return my Batterskull, replay it, and sort of grind down one of the Planeswalkers that way.
Yeah.
In the face of 2 Planeswalkers, it's really hard to do that.
Yeah.
Legacy players, if you believe you have made it
Stoneforge.
for today's tournament,
And he says, I know what's on top of my deck. Give me a Batterskull.
Card name and color, and present it to the front desk.
Yeah, this game looks like it's getting away from Bernal.
Yeah. Lee's just assaulting him from too many angles.
Mm-hmm. 2 ridiculously powerful Planeswalkers, Stoneforge with both equipment in hand. Joe obviously wants to whittle this game down. He's going to bounce. And he's just going to pass the turn back because obviously he doesn't want to activate Liliana and discard anything. Joe's going to start off with the Ponder. It's going to have to be a really, really good one. See him to Torak, a Ponder, and a Liliana the Veil. Oddly enough, him's actually not that bad here because it would cold both equipment. But again, I don't think it leads to a win.
Yeah, it does. It does give Joe a lot of time, which is nice.
Yeah.
But it's...
And there's Liliana. Take care of... He saw Lee was ready to discard. But he's not going to get the chance to do that. He draws a Thoughtseize for the turn. He's going to sacrifice Marsh Flats here. And we'll see how he wants to use these Planeswalkers. He's playing pretty quickly.
And now we're at this stage of the game. You have a Liliana that's likely to go unchecked for the rest of the game, so you want to be plussing it a fair bit, which means that the extra cards you're drawing aren't that valuable.
Yeah.
If I were Lee now with Joe with no way to shuffle his deck in play, I feel like I'd be pretty aggressive about Fate Sealing.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're going to see him do here because, he had the opportunity because he drew Thoughtseize. He could brainstorm, put Thoughtseize back, put something back. Already has the fetch land in play, but he's going to play Batterskull. And yeah, I'm with you. I would be pretty aggressively Fate Sealing right now as well. He's going to discard here with Liliana. It's going to have to go up to 4. Get rid of that yucky Thoughtseize and Fate Seal.
I like this.
Yeah, I like the sequence here as well. I think Bernal's top card right now is a Ponder, and then the next card's him to Torak. Obviously, him's going to have no impact now. So Lee's deciding if he wants to keep that on the top or the bottom.
I think it's too risky to let Joe. I understand there's the fear of the unknown here, but Ponder looks at too many cards.
Yeah. And Joe says, no, please, thank you. I've seen just enough because I know I'm going to draw him to Torak, and that's not going to get the job done. So Lee Prost is going to win game number 1 here over Joe Bernal. You can say off the back of Jace the Mind Sculptor there, a card we haven't seen a lot today.
It's back. I mean, we've seen so little of it in Legacy lately, but it can still be awesome on stable boards, as we just saw.
Bernal's sideboard has 2 copies of Pithing Needle, an Engineered Explosives, an Engineered Plague, and an Enlightened Tutor, Rest in Peace, a counter spell, 3 copies of Swan Song to go along with 3 Flusterstorms, Humility, and a Detention Sphere. A lot of Planeswalkers and things they with Detentions here, so I expect to see that come in for Joe. Wouldn't be surprised to see Needle come in as well now that he knows his opponent has Jace.
Yes.
Explosives, we saw him bring that in against Tenjum to counteract a lot of different cards, Liliana being one of them. So, again, we might see that join us. Rest in Peace, not so great in this matchup. No Tarmogoyf flying around here. There are Deathrite Shamans, but both players are going to want to use those. Flusterstorm, more obviously for your Storm decks. Humility, not for this particular matchup. Swan Song, don't like here. The Singleton Counterspell, though, could be pretty good.
And on Lee's side of the table, we have 3 Rest in Peace, 2 Meddling Mage, a Detention Sphere, Pithing Needle, 2 Either Sworn Canis, a Flusterstorm, 2 Supreme Verdicts, a Zealous Persecution, a Notion Thief, and a Vendilion Click. Like Vendilion Click, Notion Thief, Zealous Persecution is a good answer to True Name Nemesis, and the Detention Sphere as well. I don't know if he's going to want to go to a full swap here by bringing in Supreme Verdict. There is an argument for doing so in that he has Jace, so he has a much better long game than Joe. But both decks have a similar number of creatures, so I was surprised to see him bring that in. And with Liliana and Force of Will, he does have some answers to True Name Nemesis, along with the Zealous Persecution he's bringing in as well.
So both players are going to go to the drawing board. They've probably got a pretty good idea of what they're up against. I'm sure they've seen each other over the past couple of rounds. Both been sitting at the top tables here. But unfortunately for them, unable to draw into the top 8. As far as players on our leaderboards go, Joe is the highest available to make top 8. Van Meter, gone. Tenjum, gone. Jeff Hoogland, gone. Eric Rill, Matthew Hoey, gone. Joe Bernal, 37th place on the leaderboard. He wants to get into the elimination rounds here.
And it's pretty crazy how much your frame of reference for someone is sculpted by very small events. When we saw Lee just got railroaded very quickly by Tenjum, we're just like, okay, well, that was Andrew Tenjum against his opponent that round. That was,
yeah.
That was the match we cut into. But here we see Lee, who has run off quite a string of victories.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jace the Mind Sculptor has a lot to do with that. Again, a lot of people have been moving away from that card. Haven't heard a lot about just how powerful the 4-mana Planeswalker can be. Everyone's talking about True Name Nemesis, but, there's another blue card out there. It's a good one in Jace.
Not the best against True Name Nemesis, and so it kind of warrants you playing a lot of answers to the card to enable it, because True Name Nemesis is very efficient at attacking Planeswalkers, among other things. But once you have the structure to protect your Jace, it's just, we've seen it close so many games, more than any other card, I would say.
You can't forget about the boss.
No.
This is Jace we're talking about here. This is the game ender. You get to untap twice. I like to say in Legacy, if you get to untap twice with Jace, it's over. It'll take a little while, but it's over.
Yeah,
You're not coming back.
I don't know what the maximum number of Jace activations I've seen someone beat in a game of Legacy, but it's not a high number.
Yeah. Just book it. It's just done.
Because, if your Jace is activating multiple times, it implies the board's pretty stable and likely to continue to be stable as you're unsummoning or locking your opponent's draw step every turn.
It just promotes activity that your opponent's not going to be able to get out of or come back from. Just snowballs such a gigantic advantage. As Lee is ready to go. See arms crossed, stretching the neck, up a game, feeling confident, feeling good. Joe back against the wall, but this is a player who's played a lot of competitive Magic, a lot of time on the Open Series, won a lot of matches.
Yeah, it's one of those things, too, when you're in Lee's seat. When you're playing against someone like Joe, where there's a reputation and you recognize their name from the Open Series, presumably, where you sit down and it's a mirror match. It's going to be tough, and this guy has so much experience. And then you win the game one that way in a pretty straightforward, conventional manner, and it helps settle you in a little bit.
Yeah.
You feel like you're just at your store at your kitchen table.
Yeah. It's like I've done it before.
Yeah.
So Joe's got to get the next 2. Let's see what does happen here for him. He'll be on the play this go around, of course. And again, it's a really kind of swingy matchup back and forth. There were really no swings, in that game. Lee was just ahead the entire time.
Yep.
But oftentimes this matchup is very, very swingy and back and forth. Bernal's going to take a look at his opening hand. Looks like he's happy. We're starting. Underground Sea, kick it back.
And it appears as though Lee has gone to his Supreme Verdict, so he's setting up for a very long game.
That, or, he's taking the, he wants to try to catch Joe off guard a little bit here.
Sure.
Maybe time for a hymn? Oh, yeah. Brainstorm in response. It looks like we're going to see from Lee as he does sacrifice that Verdant Catacombs. We'll see what land he looks to get. He wants to consult, make sure everything's happy before he goes to search. You see his hand right now, double Brainstorm. He's got that Supreme Verdict that you did mention, Patrick, along with a Source of Plowshares, a Tropical Island, and a Polluted Delta.
Very reactive hand.
Yeah. So there is an Underground Sea. We'll see a Brainstorm go on the stack here momentarily before the hymn does resolve. 3 cards coming. There's also a Stoneforge Mystic in there, too. That's a pretty gosh darn good hand.
Yeah, not a lot to do proactively.
Yeah.
And if his hand is too reactive, then these hymns become so devastating.
That's 3 lands, of which Creeping Tar Pit, Flooded Strand, and I believe it was a Scrub land. So yuck. Or maybe yay? He's got lands to discard now. He's got a ton of lands.
He's got a lot of buffer against this hymn.
Yeah. He's putting spells back. He's putting Stoneforge on top, Swords on bottom. Now he's going to shuffle up. 6, 7. I think Joe's asking him to shuffle his hand a little bit here.
Yeah, I think he's going to just choose a card at random out of his hand and then roll a die.
Yeah. All right, so he says, all right, give me this one and give me that one. All right, 2 lands, Creeping Tar Pit and a Scrub land.
The way we used to hymn each other back in the day.
Yeah, him, you win.
Just stick out your hand and I'm picking 2 out of there. No dice.
Now there is the Flooded Strand, going to sacrifice that. Lee's going to go down to 18. He's also going to probably drop a Stoneforge Mystic on the table here momentarily. Probably going to see him go get a Tundra here. And there is the blue-white duel. See if Joe can control the Stoneforge Mystic. His good ally, as there is the 1/2. Good to go. So what will the weapon of the day, excuse me? It's going to be Batterskull.
Demanding that Joe has an answer right now.
Polluted Delta the draw here for Bernal. He'll play a Plains. That's an answer in Liliana of the Veil. Bye-bye Stoneforge. And yes, Lee does have a Batterskull, but he's a ways away now.
And not a lot else going on with that hand, too. So this is a hand that's pretty susceptible for Liliana to be plussing against.
Yeah. Lilo on tap. He's going to take a draw. Another Stoneforge. He can get a little creative here if he'd like. Cast a Brainstorm, put the Batterskull back. He's just going to, looks like he's just going to cast Stoneforge right now. So let's see what he's going to go searching out. I don't know, looks like he wants to search for Musou Shite. I know he has Sword of Fire and Ice too. And he's going to go with the Modern Master's weapon. That art is better than the first.
I agree.
Yes! You like a newer card.
I still think I would play the old one.
Yeah, of course.
The only artwork where the discrepancy in quality of art is so bad that I play the newer one is Brainstorm.
Okay.
I play the Mercadian Mask one, not the Ice Age one.
Okay, sure.
The discrepancy is just too high, even by my standards.
Here's a Brainstorm from Joe. I think that Brainstorm art is the best one. It's really close. I think that's like a Jace Brainstorm.
Yeah, that's too...
That's too new, too fancy. I understand.
Nouveau riche for me.
Yep. Yeah. You are ridiculous. You see Joe's going to resolve Brainstorm, play a Flooded Strand. He can make it a perfect Brainstorm. Follow up with Swords. Get that thing out of here. See, that Brainstorm's great. I think it's something like Jace versus Chandra or something. I can't remember.
The Jace versus Chandra dual deck, or as Matt Sperling introduced me to them as the Fire Breathing versus Repel dual decks.
One deck you can't possibly lose.
All right, well, I'll put all my mana into this Fire Breather. All right, put it up back on top of your deck for the 4th time.
There's a Stoneforge Mystic from Joe after he has ticked up Liliana. Let's see what equipment he's going to search out now.
It really tells you about the relationship that blue has with the other colors in Magic.
It does. It really, really does.
I'll bounce that, take that, put it on top of your deck, counter it.
What are you going to do? I'm just going to Fire Breathe again.
Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself.
As Jite will be the choice here for this Stoneforge Mystic. Should the Jace deck in theory lose to anything? It's Jace. Like
That's true.
James versus Rosca's come out. I can't wait to take a look at that doozy.
It's I understand that the flavor is correct to have the blue deck be completely busted, but it doesn't necessarily make for the best gameplay experience.
Here's a Tropical Island. There's a Brainstorm here for Lee. Flooded Strand, Liliana the Veil, and another Brainstorm to go along with Batterskull and friends here. So let's see how Lee wants to resolve this. Put the cards back, maybe fetch, maybe not. Got a Deathrite Shaman hanging out there too. Can't forget about the sword. Got a lot of options as we make our way into the mid game.
Yeah. But Joe in the front foot, you know, having a Liliana at 2+ counters gives you so much flexibility the way the game plays out. Your opponent, you know, you have an Edict as protection against anything, especially True Name Nemesis. And it really puts a lot of pressure on your opponent to start doing things with the resources they do have in hand, because you can start attacking their hand as well.
Yeah, this is a tough decision on what to put back for the Brainstorm, because he looks like he might be putting back a Brainstorm, which is always kind of a weird thing, right?
Yeah, the other thing about all of this is it's not just about what happens this turn, but Lee has to try to set up the next couple of turns in the face of this Liliana.
Yeah, no, this is what paves the way for the next, like, 3 or 4 turns of the game.
Yeah, these Brainstorms are complicated enough, even if it was just, all right, what am I doing this turn and next turn? But there's a lot of variables that Lee has to take in consideration as well.
It's part of the reason that AJ Soccer takes 60 minutes to resolve them. I completely understand.
We love you, AJ.
Speak for yourself. As you see, a Lilianaville come down here. So both players might get empty-handed again really quick, but he's going to start by minusing that, get that Stoneforge Mystic off the table. And now after giving Lee's deck back, Joe's going to tap those 4 lands. He'll take a draw.
And the power of Liliana and, you know, Jace that we've seen in Lee's deck in this matchup, you can see why some people play a Creeping Tar Pit or 2 in these decks.
Oh, yeah.
Because these games have been all about Planeswalkers.
You see Detention Sphere of Swords and a land drawn here for Bernal. And, you know, we didn't really make much of it when him hit 2 lands, one of which was a Creeping Tar Pit. That could end up mattering a lot this game.
Yeah.
Because that card does play a huge role at just chump checking Planeswalkers and keeping those things under control.
Yeah, if Lee had a Creeping Tar Pit in play, it would totally contort Joe's play.
Yeah.
Even if Lee never actually activated it, he'd have to play around it the whole time.
Something he has to account for, as you mentioned. Polluted Delta. Does Joe want to activate Liliana, take it up, or no?
Well, I think he's going to use the Detention Sphere here.
Yeah, if he uses D-Sphere, both Lilianas are gone. So I don't think that's a play
Sure.
you can make.
And
he doesn't even use that Liliana because Joe's basically saying, my hand's real good. There's a Batterskull, sure. That's a good Detention Sphere target.
Certainly better than plowing it, given the pace of this game.
Yeah. Wonder if Lee's going to up his Liliana. He's got that Flooded Strand to discard. All right, Joe, you know that you have to discard now, so what are you going to do?
And we've seen this before, you know, where it's
Swords.
very likely that Joe is going to be Detention Spearing this Batterskull and plussing his Liliana, and then we're going to say whose top of deck is better.
Yeah.
And Lee, again, equipped with several copies of Jace the Mind Sculptor in his list, which is the best thing to be drawing from here.
Yep. It looks like we're going to be off to the races in a minute here. Now, of course, Joe does get one more draw step before all of this top decking nonsense war begins. So we'll see if he can find anything nice. As he does finish off making a perfect Brainstorm. He's at 17, Lee's at 18. Both players, Liliana's on 2. Joe, looks like he found a land. Here's a D-Sphere.
Which at least makes the decision of what Joe's path is very easy.
Yeah.
If he draws a castable spell, it's a little harder.
Places Marsh Flats, ups that, get rid of that Brainstorm, thank you. And let's go. There's a Scalding Tarn, up that Liliana. Joe draws his card. There's a Underground Sea, up the Liliana.
Jace.
How about a Marsh Flats, up the Liliana? Joe draws his card. That's Source of Plowshares. I still think he has to up his Liliana here. He has to let that go, I think. Because you get to ultimate your Liliana first if the game keeps going this way.
Yeah.
And I think that matters. As Lee's going to draw a card, that's a Deathrite Shaman.
And even that's pretty important as it forces Joe to do something about it. Otherwise, if he edicts, then Lee gets way ahead with his Liliana.
Ponder's huge here. You see a Ponder, him, and a mystery card. See what this is going to be.
I believe it is Counterspell.
I believe it is Counterspell as well.
But none of these cards are particularly good in the face of Lee's Liliana. The
I
reactive
agree.
cards are not helping him.
But for Joe, thankfully, one of those cards obviously is a Ponder, so what he can do is put those other 2 cards back, sacrifice the Marsh Flats, get a brand new shuffle, take a look at 3 new cards. That's what he's going to do. So he's going to go down to 16.
Yeah, he has a path to get another crack at finding something proactive, but in the abstract at this stage of the game, that looks like a really juicy ponder. But again, the Liliana on Lee's side of the table means that Rayenta cards are a no-go.
Yeah. So now Joe will shuffle it all away and see what he can find with this second ponder. Ponder nice too, because it keeps card on top of the deck to fade Liliana. So let's do it one more time, Sweetness. 2, 3, true name. I think another ponder here. Yeah, Joe keeps this one a little bit quicker. That is a Deathrite Shaman. This is Liliana going. He 6 or 3, 6 or 3. What's it gonna be? It's gonna be 3. All right. Pass it. Lee untaps the Trop. Draws. Takes his Liliana down, mimicking Joe's play. Passes. Joe. True name.
And now Joe's getting really far ahead on the Liliana counters.
Up this, discard Liliana. Pass. You got to kill that, obviously, so that goes down to 1. Lee draws a Swords, pass the turn back. Joe draws Ponder, which is huge. I love the way Joe sculpted these last 3 turns.
Oh, absolutely.
Spell Pierce, land, Spell Pierce. Easy shuffle. Now Joe draws True Name. He's in great shape.
Yeah. And you can see Joe's just so familiar with the way these games are played. These are not easy turns by any stretch.
Yeah. He's been here before. He'll be here again. So let's see what the mystery card's going to be. This is going to be big. Love the back and forth here.
Yeah. It's some swinging magic. Again, these decks are so good about running the other out of resources.
There's a land. Going to put that into play. Up this. Make you discard your Swords. All right, Lee, your turn. Got a Jace. I look like a spell that was relevant. It's a True Name. Okay. Lee just shrugs his shoulders, knows it's going to die past the turn back. Lee's Liliana goes up to 2. Joe draws his card. Let's see what this is going to be.
It's a battle of who can... these Lilianas are just... One's just trying to make the other break serve at this point.
Pretty much, yeah. Joe obviously drew a spell. Let's see what it's going to be. 4. Explosives for 4. That's a smart play.
Just insurance against Jace.
Yep. Lee draws his card. Jace is like the best card here in this situation, so I love Joe's play with the explosives. Can't play it on 3, obviously. Blows up both Lilianas, kills the detention sphere, gives Lee his Batter Skull back.
Yeah.
But 4 is very smart. Pass the turn back. Joe. And Lee didn't activate Liliana.
Yeah, Lee drew Vendilion Click this turn, which is pretty awkward because, of course, he would.
Ooh, True Name comes in. Here's Liliana. All right. This means that, wow, this gets so interesting. Okay. All right, so Lee's Liliana's at 2. He draws. It's, I believe, okay, it's a Wasteland. He's going to use my Liliana. That's going to eat that. This is going to go after yours. So yours can't kill my Click. Untap, draw. What's Joe draw? Up to 2. Discard Spell Pierce. Pass it. So now V-Click is going to run supreme on this battlefield. There's another copy of Wasteland. Kill your Liliana. Pass. Joe draws. Pass. Uh-oh.
Oh, boy.
Uh-oh. Sword of Fire and Ice. Equip. Attack. Oh, boy, it hits. In for 5. Trigger, make it 7. Bernal goes down to 10. Prost gets to draw a card. It's a Tundra. Might fire off these Wastelands now.
Yeah, you can't really cut them off of a color. I guess you can cut them off of green, but...
Oh, wow. Joe drew
Back-to-back hymns,
running hymns, yeah. This is part of the problem with the discard spells in this matchup, right? Where obviously they're great at getting the opponent into the game that we were at of the top deck war, which is kind of where you want to be, but then you get yourself into this position where you can draw hymns later in the game. And now here's a GT, and Lee's top decks are better than Joe's. He's going to equip the GT now. In for 5. Trigger's going to make it 7 yet again. Trigger on the GT is going to be 2 counters. He gets to draw a card.
That's Snapcaster Mage.
That's a good magic card, too. Looks like he forgot maybe the GT counters, but Joe's going to draw. He's going to put the cards down, and that is going to do it. Lee Prost does win this match over Joe Bernal 2-0, and he'll be moving on to the elimination rounds. Very likely chance that he's your #1 seed in the tournament.
Yeah, both